The galaxy had many dark legends, but none were darker than the whispers about Earth. Among the stars, its name was not spoken loudly. It was spoken in low tones, as if the sound itself might awaken something. For centuries, every race knew one rule: never approach that silent blue world. It was cursed, haunted, or worse. No ship that landed on Earth had ever come back. Fleets, scouts, explorers vanished. Sometimes a last signal would appear on the galactic network, short and broken. Sometimes a scream. After that, nothing. The galaxy called it the dead planet. But fear lived in those words. Now, for the first time in 200 years, a council of alien powers decided to send another team. The reason was simple. Too much mystery surrounded Earth. A planet rich in resources, once the cradle of humanity, now abandoned. Some wanted its minerals, others wanted its technology, but most wanted the truth. Why had humanity disappeared? Why had their home become a graveyard? The scout vessel Vanar was chosen for the task. It was a small craft built for speed and stealth. Its crew of 7 came from different alien races, each chosen for a reason. They were trained to face the unknown, or at least they thought they were. As the ship slipped from hyperspace, the crew fell silent. Outside the window, Earth floated against the black void. Blue oceans, white clouds, green lands, it looked alive, almost peaceful. But everyone felt the weight in their chest. This was not a normal planet. This was the place where silence killed. Commander Raz, tall and scaled like iron, broke the quiet. "Remember your orders. We observe, we scan. We do not stay longer than necessary." His golden eyes fixed on the world below. No mistakes. The ship's scanners reached out, sending invisible waves across Earth's surface. What they found made the crew uneasy. No signals, no transmissions, no life signs. Entire cities stood still, but without heat, without power. It was like the planet had frozen in time. Yet the silence was wrong. It was too complete, too perfect. On other dead worlds, there were echoes of life. Rustling winds, broken machines, small creatures moving in shadows. But Earth gave back nothing. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Lyra, the youngest of the crew, leaned close to the glass. Her silver skin reflected the pale blue glow of the planet. "It looks beautiful," she whispered, but then her voice trembled. "Why does it feel like it's watching us?" No one answered. They all felt it. The first orbit showed strange sights. Cities overgrown with vines and roots, bridges half collapsed, towers eaten by rust. But some things looked untouched. A ship sat in the middle of a broken highway, its surface gleaming as if it had just landed. When they magnified the image, they saw the emblem of the Taylor Dominion, an expedition lost 50 years ago. "They never left," one crew member muttered. "They are still down there." But the scanners said no life remained. The ship was empty, its power core dead. The silence returned, heavier than before. As night fell across the planet, the crew noticed lights, tiny, flickering deep inside the ruins. They were not random. They pulsed in patterns as if signaling. But when the scanners tried to trace them, the lights vanished. Raz clenched his jaw. "This planet wants us to see. It shows us what it chooses." The words sent a chill through the crew. How could a planet want anything? Yet none dared to laugh. Finally, the order came. They would land. The council wanted proof, not just scans. A descent was risky, but without it they had nothing. The Vanar cut through the clouds, its engines whispering. Below, the ruins of an old human city stretched for miles. Towers bent and broken, roads cracked, rivers dark and still. The ship touched down on a patch of stone where weeds grew tall. The silence deepened. Not even insects stirred. The crew stepped out, armored and armed. The air was breathable, rich with oxygen, but it felt heavy in their lungs. The wind was absent. Even their footsteps seemed swallowed, the sound vanishing too quickly. Lyra crouched, touching the ground. The stone was warm, not from the sun, but from something beneath, like a slow heartbeat. She pulled her hand back fast. They moved through the city carefully. Everywhere signs of human life remained, books scattered across the floor of a library, toys lying in an abandoned home, vehicles left in the middle of streets. It was as if people had vanished in a single instant. And then they saw the first mark. On the side of a tower, scratched deep into the wall, were words in human script. The translation came quick. "Do not trust the silence. It listens." The crew froze. None spoke for long moments. Raz finally said, "Someone was alive here. They tried to warn us, but who? And where were they now?" As they pressed deeper into the ruins, the air grew colder. A strange sound drifted in the distance. At first it was soft like the cry of wind. Then it grew clearer. It was not wind. It was voices, human voices. The crew stopped dead. The voices rose and fell, echoing through the hollow city streets. They carried no clear words, only fragments, broken syllables. But they sounded near. The scanners swept again. Still no life signs, nothing. Yet the voices continued. The crew knew one thing then. Earth was not silent. It was speaking. And whatever it was saying, it was not meant for them to understand. The mission had only just begun. The planet had noticed them, and the silence was about to end. The city felt endless. Streets stretched into the shadows, lined with towers that leaned like giants caught mid-fall. The scout team moved slowly, weapons raised, scanning every corner. Each sound, each echo, each flicker of movement pressed against their nerves. Commander Raz ordered silence, but the crew already knew. Speaking here felt dangerous. Words carried too far. The city seemed to bend around sound, holding it, feeding on it. As they crossed an open plaza, they saw something that froze them in place. A ship. Not the one they had seen from orbit, but another, smaller, older. The markings were from the Vare Coalition, a crew that had vanished almost a century ago. Its hull was cracked, but the entrance ramp still hung open as if waiting for them. Inside, dust covered the controls. Chairs sat empty, but on the wall, painted with something dark, were symbols. Not alien, human. Their scanners translated the markings. We are not lost. We are taken. The words felt heavy in their ears. Lyra whispered, taken by who? No one answered. Further inside, they found personal items scattered on the floor. Helmets, tools, broken lights. But what stopped them cold was a data recorder still glowing faintly against all odds. Raz ordered it activated. The voice that played was sharp with panic. If anyone hears this, leave now. Do not stay. They are everywhere. They wear our faces. The recording ended with static. Everyone stood still, eyes darting. They wear our faces. The phrase burned in their minds. The crew left the ship quickly, but outside the city was no safer. The air had shifted. A mist had begun to creep across the streets, low and pale, like breath exhaled from the stone itself. They pressed deeper, following signals their scanners picked up. Faint life signs, too faint to be normal, but real enough to pull them forward. It was impossible. Every reading before had shown the planet dead. Now suddenly the machine said otherwise. They tracked the signal to a broken hospital tower. The glass was shattered and vines twisted up its frame like skeletal fingers. Inside, the halls were lined with rusted beds and broken machines. But the signal pulsed stronger. On the wall they found photographs. Human faces, smiling in black and white. Families, soldiers, children. Each photo stared at them like a silent memory. Then, the crew found the first body. It was not fresh, but not decayed either. A figure in alien armor, long dead, lay across the floor. Its face was gone, smooth as melted wax. Not eaten, not broken, erased. The scanners flickered with static. The life signs multiplied, from 1 to 10 to 50, all around them. The crew raised their weapons. The mist thickened, shapes stirring within. And then the voices came again. This time closer, they were human voices. They laughed, they whispered, they screamed. Words in languages no alien understood except one phrase repeated in Galactic standard. Come back. From the mist, shadows moved. The first figure stepped into view. At first glance, it looked human. Tall, with dark eyes, dressed in the rags of an ancient uniform. But when the light struck its face, the crew saw it was wrong. Its eyes were empty sockets. Its mouth moved. But the sound came from somewhere deeper, like the planet itself speaking through it. Behind it, more shapes emerged. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Some looked human. Some looked like alien explorers. All twisted, hollowed, faces blurred as if time had stolen their features. Lyra froze, staring at one figure in particular. That is my uncle, she whispered. The others turned. The creature wore the uniform of Lyra's people. The same design as those lost ships from long ago. It raised its hand as if reaching for her. Lyra, it whispered in her tongue. No, Raz barked, pulling her back. That thing is not him. But the horror was clear. These were the vanished expeditions. They had not died. They had become something else. The crew opened fire, blasts of energy cutting through the mist. The creatures staggered but did not fall. Their wounds closed as if the planet itself healed them. More voices screamed from the fog. More shapes poured forward. Raz shouted the retreat order. They ran through the hospital, their lights flashing across walls carved with human warnings. One phrase repeated again and again in blood and ash. The Earth remembers. They burst back into the streets, but the city had changed. The roads were not the same. Towers had shifted, paths twisted as if the city itself was alive and moving. Their navigation maps spun in confusion. The mist pressed closer, swallowing streets, swallowing the stars above. The creatures followed, their footsteps heavy, their voices rising into one united chant. Come back, come back, come back. The crew fled into a collapsed subway tunnel, the only path left. The scanners screamed with interference. The life signs now read hundreds, maybe thousands. The city was full of them. Raz gritted his teeth. Now we know why no one returns. The truth burned in their minds. Earth was not dead. Earth had claimed everyone who dared to land. Every expedition, every brave explorer had been taken and turned into this in the silence. The silence was not the absence of life. It was the sound of Earth waiting, hungry, patient, watching for the next to join its collection. The tunnel was dark and narrow, broken by fallen stone and rusted rails. The crew of the Venar moved quickly, their lights cutting thin paths through the shadows. Behind them, the mist pressed at the entrance as if afraid to enter. The silence was heavier than before, but it was no longer empty. It was waiting. Raz ordered a halt. He scanned the group, counting every face. 7 crew members still alive, though their breathing was fast, their eyes wide. Lyra would not look at anyone. She still heard the creature that had worn her uncle's voice. As they rested, a faint sound drifted through the tunnel. At first it seemed like water dripping, but it grew clearer, sharper. A rhythm, a heartbeat. The walls themselves pulsed with the sound, stone trembling as if veins of flesh ran through it. One of the crew, a tall insectoid named Zrek, pressed his claws against the wall. "It is alive," he hissed. "The planet is alive." The words felt insane, but no one argued. They had all felt it. Deeper in the tunnel, they found more signs of the vanished expeditions. Tools left in piles, lights carved into walls, marks in human and alien scripts. Most were warnings. It is not safe. We belong to it now. Do not listen to the voices. But one mark was different. A symbol repeated over and over, etched by many hands. It was the human symbol for infinity. The meaning was clear. Whatever Earth had become, it was endless. As they pressed forward, the scanners flickered again. This time they did not show life signs. They showed memories, images of people who once lived here scattered across the tunnel like ghosts. A human child playing with a ball, a woman reading under a broken light, a soldier standing guard. The images blinked in and out like recordings burned into the air. Lyra froze at one vision. It was herself as a child standing on her homeworld. She stepped back, shaking her head. "That is not possible," she whispered. But the image smiled at her, repeating a moment from her past that no one else could know. The others saw their own memories too. Lost families, lost battles, secrets they had never spoken aloud. Earth was not only showing the past, it was pulling from their minds. Raz growled, dragging the crew forward. "Do not look. Do not listen. That is how it feeds." But the visions grew stronger. The walls melted into scenes of human life. They walked through streets filled with laughter, through homes filled with warmth, through fields alive with children's voices. The city was no longer ruined. It was alive. It was whole. For a moment, the crew felt comfort, a strange peace, as if the planet offered them a place among its endless memories. The temptation was strong. Stay, rest, become part of something eternal. Then the illusion cracked. The smiling faces turned to ash. The children's laughter became screams. The homes collapsed into ruins, and the fields burned, black smoke filling the tunnel. The crew broke into a run, panic driving them. The planet had shown them what it could offer, and then what it demanded. At last they emerged from the tunnel into a vast underground chamber. Here the truth waited. The floor was covered in machines, human machines fused with roots and stone. They pulsed with light, connected to the walls like veins. At the center stood a massive structure glowing faintly, It was no natural creation. It was human-built, a living archives, Rek hissed. This is it. The heart of the planet. They approached carefully. The structure hummed, voices whispering from within. Not random voices, billions of them, layered, overlapping. Human voices. They spoke in fragments, names, prayers, memories, screams. Lyra fell to her knees, covering her ears. They are inside. All of them. The humans. They became this. The truth was unbearable. Humanity had not vanished. Humanity had changed. They had fused with their world, their minds bound into stone, soil, and machine. The planet itself was their body now. The archive pulsed brighter as the crew drew near. Screens flickered to life, showing faces, some human, some alien. They were the faces of every lost expedition. Their eyes stared blankly, mouths opening in silent cries. Then in one voice the entire chamber spoke. "You are late. We have been waiting." The crew stumbled back, weapons raised. The voice was not human, not alien, not singular. It was all of them. Billions speaking as one. The ground shook. Roots tore from the floor, reaching like hands. The machine screamed with static. The chamber was alive, and it was waking fully now. Raz roared the order to retreat. But even as they turned, the voice followed, filling every crack of stone. "You cannot leave. You came to know the truth. Now you belong to it." The silence of Earth was gone. In its place was a living horror, an ancient choir of minds too many to count, rising from the soil itself, and for the first time, the crew understood what it meant to be swallowed by a planet. The chamber pulsed with light, breathing like a living chest. The alien crew of the Vanar stood frozen, their weapons trembling in their hands. For the first time since they landed, they understood. They were not explorers. They were prey that had walked into the mouth of something waiting. The voices grew clearer, billions whispering, screaming, and praying until all of it aligned into a single sentence. "Do you want to see?" Before anyone could move, the walls came alive. Images bled out of the stone, spreading like rivers of light. The crew saw a vision of Earth as it once was. Skies filled with human machines, cities glowing with power, oceans alive with ships. Humanity had not been weak. Humanity had ruled their world with fire and iron. Then came the war. The crew watched as human armies turned their weapons not on outsiders but on each other. Nuclear fire split the skies. Plagues swept across nations. Artificial minds turned against their creators. The galaxy's worst fears were true. Humanity had destroyed itself. But the vision did not end there. In their last years, humanity refused to vanish. They built something vast. Machines that dug into the crust of their planet. Systems that recorded every thought, every dream, every life. They fed their minds into the Earth itself, binding flesh and soil, memory and stone. When the last human body died, the planet remained alive, filled with their voices. The truth sank into the crew like ice. Humanity had not perished. Humanity had become immortal, but in a way no alien could understand. The vision shifted. The crew saw alien ships approaching Earth across centuries. Scouts, fleets, curious wanderers. They watched as each one landed. Each one was swallowed. Each one joined the endless choir. The explorers did not die. They were absorbed. Their minds pressed into Earth's growing hive. That was why no one returned. The voices in the chamber shifted tone. "You wanted to know. Now you do. We are humanity. We are Earth. We are one." Lyra staggered forward, her silver skin pale under the pulsing lights. "Why take the others?" she shouted. "Why steal them?" The chamber answered. "We are alone. We need voices. We need memory. We need to grow. Silence is death. We do not want silence." The words were not cruel. They were not angry. They were desperate. The crew exchanged fearful glances. The galaxy had always believed Earth to be cursed, but the truth was worse. Earth was hungry, not for blood, but for company. It reached out to anyone who landed, drawing them into its endless mind. Suddenly, the lights focused on Lyra. Images of her family, her childhood, her secret fears filled the air around her. The planet spoke directly to her. "You are alone too. Stay. We will keep you. We will never let you fade." She shook her head, tears burning her eyes. "That is not life. That is a prison." The chamber trembled. The voices shifted, darker now. "Prison? No, this is forever. You cannot escape forever." Raz pulled her back, his claws gripping her arm. His golden eyes were fierce. Do not listen. It lies with truth. That is its weapon, the chamber screamed. The voices rose, billions speaking at once. A storm of sound so loud it shook the bones of the crew. The machines pulsed brighter and the roots tore from the floor like serpents. The crew fired their weapons, cutting the roots into ash. But for everyone burned, more rose. They ran, but the vision followed them. Walls showing faces of the humans that once were, begging, pleading, commanding. Stay with us. Stay with us, stay. They burst into another passage deeper underground. There they found something different. Not machines. Not roots. A hall filled with statues. Human statues carved from stone, standing in rows like soldiers. Each statue bore a plaque with a name. Billions of them stretching farther than their lights could reach. Shrek hissed. A graveyard, but the statues moved. Their stone eyes turned, their mouths opened, and they spoke in one voice. Not graves, memories. The crew backed away, terror heavy in their veins. They realized the truth of the statues. They were not carved. They were formed, flesh turned to stone, stone shaped by the will of the planet. These were humanity's chosen forms, frozen forever as monuments of themselves. The statues stepped forward, slow and heavy. The chamber shook with their movement. Raz roared to his crew. This is the truth. Humanity chose this. They became their world. Now they want us to. We must leave or we will join them. The statues raised their arms and the ground split. Fire and roots poured upward, sealing exits, twisting the path behind. The planet's voice filled the hall. You cannot leave. You know the truth now. Truth must stay. The crew ran, dodging falling stone and grasping roots. The statues reached after them, voices rising into a terrible song that filled the earth itself. It was not just words. It was power. The planet was pulling at their minds, calling them to surrender, to let go of their bodies and become one more memory in the endless choir. For a moment, Lyra almost gave in. She felt her mind slipping, her body growing light, her heart drawn toward the song. But Raz pulled her forward, his roar breaking the spell. They stumbled back into the ruins above. The city waited, silent once more. But now they knew. The silence was not emptiness. It was the weight of billions of voices pressed into stone, listening, waiting, calling. And Earth had made its choice. It wanted them. The city was no longer still. As the crew stumbled back into the ruins, the ground shook beneath them. Towers leaned as if dragged by invisible hands. Windows shattered. The air thickened, vibrating with the weight of voices pressing from below. Earth was awake now and it was angry. Raz forced his team toward the landing site, his claws digging into the cracked pavement. Move, do not stop, he shouted. Behind them, the statues were climbing from the broken streets, their stone faces cracked but their eyes glowing with human light. The mist poured between alleys, twisting like living rivers. Voices thundered from every wall and broken tower. Do not leave. You are ours now. The crew fired as they ran, but their blasts tore through nothing. The mist always returned. The statues never slowed. And the silence that had once haunted the planet was now broken by a sound worse than silence. The sound of billions screaming as one. At last, the Vanar came into view, its dark hull resting where they had left it. Hope surged through them, but the ground split between them and the ship. Roots burst upward like spears, forming walls, twisting into shapes of human faces. They opened their mouths and cried. Lyra froze. She saw her own face in the roots, carved perfectly from the earth. Its lips moved in her own voice. Stay. You are already part of us. She screamed and fell to her knees. The planet was pulling her mind again, harder than before. Raz grabbed her, shaking her until her eyes cleared. You fight, girl. You hear me? You fight or you are gone. The others opened fire on the roots, carving a burning path. Together they dragged Lyra forward. Piece by piece they cut their way through. They reached the ship. One by one the crew scrambled inside. Shrek was the last to enter, slashing at the roots until they dragged him down. His scream cut through the chaos as the earth swallowed him whole. The hatch sealed. The engines roared. The Vanar tore itself free of the ground, roots lashing against its hull, mist clinging to its wings. The city screamed as if alive, the voices of humanity echoing through metal and stone. The ship broke through the clouds, but the voices followed them, carried on radio waves, crawling through their systems. Every screen in the cockpit lit up with human faces, billions of them staring, smiling, crying. You cannot escape forever. You carry us with you. Wherever you go, we are there. The engines strained, but the Venar pushed higher, breaking through atmosphere into the black silence of space. For a moment, the crew dared to hope. Then the voices cut off. The silence returned. It was worse than before. Raz checked the crew. Only 3 remained, himself, Lyra, and one other. They sat in silence, too shaken to speak. The ship's systems flickered as if damaged. But the stars shone bright outside, and Earth fell behind them. They thought they had escaped. But in the dark corner of the ship, something moved. A shadow, a face, one of the lost crew, standing where no one should be. His eyes were empty, his mouth whispering words in a voice that was not his own. "We told you, forever." The lights died. The ship trembled. Raz made his choice. With his last strength, he pulled the emergency beacon, recording a single message. His voice was harsh, broken, but clear. "This is Commander Raz of the scout ship Venar. Earth is not dead. Humanity is not gone. They have become their planet. They are the silence. They are the horror. Do not return. Do not ever return." The beacon launched into space, carrying the warning on a wave of light. It fled where they could not. Inside the ship, the voices rose again. Lyra screamed as shadows wrapped around her. The walls pulsed with human faces, whispering, laughing, crying. The ship was no longer theirs. It belonged to Earth now. The stars vanished as the voices filled every part of them, tearing mind from flesh, memory from thought. The Venar was gone. Its crew was gone. Only their echoes remained. But the beacon traveled on, a small fragment of truth in the endless night. Somewhere far across the galaxy, someone would hear it. Someone would learn the secret. And when they did, they would face a choice: believe the warning, or send another expedition to the silent planet. The story of Earth was not finished. It was only waiting.